Hey guys, it's Matt. A combination of these three charts and graphs, I'm convinced, is how reality works. I could say the deception side of reality, but other than walking out in the woods, certain elements of nature here, basically the game board, the everything else is the deception. It's probably grown in its breadth and scope. Everything else is the deception. And I believe the combination of these three charts, one of which looks a lot nicer than my other two, but I've presented them before, is how the entire reality works, the deception side, but that's all of society, all of modern culture, all of hiding a human being from what it is. Basically, you can take anything, even current, in the truth community. I would say, the first grade of the truth community, you can plug it into this formula and see very quickly, in my opinion, see how much of a waste of time it is to investigate whatever might be the topic of the day. So let's just do Travis Scott. Just there's hundreds and hundreds, thousands of examples. The Roger Stone trial, all the Trump aides that went to jail because of the Russians hacked the election, Russians hacked the elections, Russians hacked the election. I mean, it's all, the entire reality is false and a deception of some kind. It's beyond what any man or woman in any secret society can pull off, and I'm going to keep stressing that. There are some people that email me that watch other channels, and they are getting a little frustrated with some other channels saying, I don't know why, like, this channel over here doesn't get it. Like, they still believe that men and women are making phone calls and pulling all of this off endlessly, time after time, decade after decade. Nobody catches on. Your cousin and your uncle and your brother never come around. I mean, okay, maybe I'm saying the same thing over and over, but there's only a tiny little group here that actually understand this. And sometimes this channel is like, it's like an old Amish classroom. Or I went to Roberts School Elementary School, which is an Upper Merion School District in King of Prussia outside of Philadelphia. And I remember in like second grade, they took us out. Here's the original school from 1870, and you had the sixth graders in the same room. It was just one room. You had the first graders in the same classroom as the sixth graders, and that's what happens a lot here sometimes. So I hope the sixth graders, I mean, those high level Jedis, the old guard, those that are ready to graduate, not chase the truth or topic of the month. I hope I can present this so you still want to stick with me. But this is like, guys, I've got to hang with the first graders here. Like, I've got to go teach to the first graders, and you guys do your own homework up at that end of the classroom. But I hope you want to stick with me here. But honestly, guys, and only a small percent of the truth community is ever going to get this. They just don't seem to. They're not coming around. Most people, they're never going to get this. Now, well, how do you know you're exactly right about this, Matt? Well, okay, let's put it this way. Um, I I want to be challenged in this regard. I want someone to say, Matt, I like your reality concentric rings, which shows the outer edge of the screen, how the screen tries to reach into your heart centered reality bubble with its distractions. I like that. But Matt, this other chart, you're way off on how that works. And let me tell you why. I want to be challenged. Okay, this video again is about how the three charts, in my opinion, demonstrates how reality works, the screen, the deception side with its same playbook over and over and over again. Run up the middle, run up the middle, run up the middle. Russians hack the election, Russians hack the election, Russians hack the election. It's the same playbook over and over again. Just throw a dart and let's just pick one and do an example. Oh, Travis Scott. Whatever happened, the Astro concert or whatever the thing was. I looked at it for about 5 minutes. People have emailed me. I'm not looking at that anymore. That we did that 5 years ago. We did that when we were trying to graduate from second grade to third grade. It's all, I don't, whether real people actually were hurt or killed or not, or it was more like other events where it was completely cake in a lake. It doesn't matter. It doesn't, I don't, if anybody really got injured, sorry for them, but I can, this is not relevant to this type of presentation, because no matter what it was completely a manipulation by the screen. if real people did certain things, it was because the screen and the minions on behalf of the screen got people to do certain things. It was an entire manipulation and a screen presentation from top to bottom. There's nothing just came about. Of course we know that, or you wouldn't be here at this channel. But let's just do one. Okay. The screen, the outer edge of your heart-centered reality bubble, this was the original reality map. It wants you in an ego-based or head-based reality when you should be in a heart-centered reality. Your reality bubble is in the middle, the screen and its minions on the end. Okay, the screen, here are hands. The screen's always trying to reach in to get your attention. It's run up the middle. It's run up the middle. And then it can pull you out of your heart-based reality, and you can have it will ask you to feed it energy and attention. It's that simple. It's the same playbook over and over again. So we have this gigantic news story. Travis Scott, here comes the big slimy hand in. Will you take the bait? Well, Matt, if we study it in truth to see if it's cake in a lake, then that's a just and righteous pursuit. No, it's not. That's probably what it wants you to do more than anything. The people that just watch the news and believe it all, I don't think they get as much energy out of. So will you take the bait? Will you grab the hand? Okay, that's what this is saying, amongst many other things. So let's go to this chart, which is almost as professionally drawn as the last one. It's close. It's very close. My abilities, it gives me chills sometimes thinking about my abilities in terms of drawing. I should resubmit that damn pirate in that turtle thing, wherever the heck that goes. I should do that and see if they reach out to me. Chart number 2. We are here in life to climb up the rope, ring the bell, and win. What is winning? Well, we'll talk about that some other time. We all have different opinion. You wouldn't be here listening to this if you didn't believe the main meaning in life may be to see that life has meaning, and you're here to actually do something. If not for this aspect of yourself, an aspect of yourself that's potentially not here spiritually, your spiritual self, your higher self, whatever. You're here to do something. We all agree you probably wouldn't be here. So, it's climbing up the rope, ring the bell. Have we done enough to graduate up through 12th grade? Okay, this over here is called, you might remember I presented this a month or so ago, the bog. Now, is Travis Scott the bog? Oh, yeah, big time. You're supposed to climb up the rope. Here comes the Travis Scott news story. Substitute anything else that the screen presents. Hundreds of thousands of other distractions. Hundreds, millions, billion. Who knows? It's just endless. So you're climbing up the rope, blah, blah, blah. And then, I'm going to get involved in this. Oh, but it's, Matt, we're investigating for the pursuit of truth inside the truther bucket. So it's a righteous and justice. It's a righteous and just pursuit. No, it's not. It's the thickest part of the bog that the reality wants you in more than anything else. So you're going to jump off and get involved in researching what happened to Travis Scott. Well, Matt, don't we need to know who was really killed? Is it really cake in a lake? And was it really the Travis Scott big plastic thing where it was open mouth? Did that really relate to the painting that shows the open mouth and people going into hell? And that's the bog, folks. The answer to all those questions about Travis Scott is who the F cares? Who cares? The reality loves when the truther jumps into the bog, and we're going to investigate Travis Scott. Anything else? Okay, pick anything else. The moon landing. It's nothing. It's all the bog. Every bit of it. What happened to the side of the Pentagon? The bog. They're a bog at maybe different levels. Okay, some as you go up to graduate, some of it is not such a first grade presentation. There may be things to read and to research that seem so important in your journey to find out who you are as a human being. It's the bog. It's just at a higher level. So you can jump off and just swim over here for for as long as you participate in the bog. The reality is extremely happy. So it says, venture this way. And as you go farther out into it, well, you're getting farther away from the rope. Okay, you can't go up if you're going horizontally in the bog. So that's that one. And then the last one was, you may remember the X and Y axis power going up and time, at least time in this reality construct, the snow globe going off to the right. I guess the x-axis is the horizontal and the y is vertical. So I wrote this has to be obviously the most controversial, the most controversial presentation or chart, where I think most of the old guard would be like, yeah, I mostly agree that's generally how the reality works to distract you, get you in the bog, get your attention. This one, of course, I'm expecting a lot more pushback, because it basically says, the reason for this chart is to explain why the endless distraction, lies, manipulation, everything that comes from the reality and from the screen. What's the point of it? And what's the point of it to keep you in the bog instead of climbing up the rope? So doesn't it make sense that over time, during the course of your life, and the power again is the y-axis, you may have had tremendous power in some sort of spiritual form before you came into this body, this avatar. So power goes down to almost nothing. You're born as a baby. You have no memory, mind wipe. You don't know anything about anything. You can't even defend yourself as a baby, a 1-year-old, 2-year-old, down to zero. And then the idea is to remember, to a degree, regrow your power, or remember who you are eternally, to grow and go up and up and up and up. And eventually, if you do enough in life, I put this thing here called breakaway threshold. You've crossed the line. You've broken away. You've done enough in terms of climbing up the rope here to ring the bell and graduate. And in terms of what do we need to do, we'll ponder that stuff. That's probably going to be the remainder of this channel. What we need to do, and we'll disagree there. But it doesn't matter. You wouldn't be here if we all didn't agree at the base level that we're here to do something. One of the main meanings in life is to realize that life has meaning, to do something for ourselves or an aspect of ourselves that's not here. We're going to disagree on what that is and how much we need to do. But once we agree on that, then there has to be, this chart is valid, I would say. I don't see how it can't be. There has to be a breakaway threshold, which means you've done enough. You've done enough. You're 82 years old going into your grave, and you just know you've done enough. Spiritually, is there a grading system, or who knows? But you just will know you've done enough. But the point of this chart is the entire reality is structured so your dotted line never goes up above the threshold. That's really no different than this. Every time you jump off into the bog and you don't climb the rope straight up to ring the bell, then you're just staying, somebody's going up and up and up. Oh, then they get involved in researching endless, pointless conspiracy. They're going to stay down here. Travis Scott, they're going to drop lower. How about researching Tartarian mud flood? Just see that it tells you how pointless the research is, because I did it too, but it's time to let the stuff go. I did all the stuff too. But at some point, let's just say, if you agree with this chart that we have to accomplish certain things for ourselves. What does breakaway threshold mean? Maybe it means you don't come back and do it again, from a Hindu and a Buddhist perspective or others' perspective. Maybe, who knows what it means? But it means, if you become an expert and really have Tartaria mud flood figured out, is there anybody that would think that would get you over the breakaway threshold? Like there's going to be a test of some kind on the day of your death. Well, tell me in 4,000 words or less about Tartaria mud flood. And if you get it right, you can leave this reality system, go up into this area, that area, and join with your higher self, reunite with all your pets spiritually. But you need, in 4,000 words or less, tell me if you haven't figured out Tartaria mud flood, then unfortunately you have to go back and do it again and then jump into the conspiracy on Earth all over again. There's nobody listening to this that would think that figuring out Tartaria mud flood gets you higher up. Or if you don't like this chart, that gets you directly up the rope. Isn't that the bog? What's the difference? If you do it as a hobby, Matt, I like Tartaria mud flood research. I'm fascinated by it. I'm fascinated by the pictures and all these buried things, and that's fine. That's fine. And keep doing it. Just keep it in the right perspective. I only say that because all the endless presentations, and I'm just picking on Tartaria Mudflood. The shape of the earth is the same thing. It's the same thing, in my opinion, here. If you get the exact shape right, is anybody here think that's just going to jolt you and you're now a life winner? I mean, does anybody think that? Or is it more, does it seem like more of that's jumping off into the bog and the reality distraction that the reality is designed to do to real people? See how, I think what is your, Jerry Maguire, what does your heart tell you? It's the bog. What does your inner knowing and tuning fork tell you? It's the bog. So all of these things that we thought were such righteous and just pursuits because we're smarter than the guy down the cul-de-sac, we've fallen for it more than anybody else. This reality serves up more distractions in an unnatural fashion to us than to any other group. No doubt about it. So you're not increasing your power. You're not coming into your own power, understanding who you are spiritually or eternally, researching this stuff. You're just kind of treading water here. And here, I guess you can't see out the, it's only partially a picture of the full chart. The full chart is drawn so well, it's a shame we only have part of it here. But then you get to your death out here. You see over time, this is the x-axis. And oh no, oh, you've been distracted. You spent 10 years on what happened to the side of the Pentagon. Oh no, you didn't get to your breakaway threshold. You spent 10 years on Tartaria Mudflood pictures. Oh no, you died and then you didn't do what you're supposed to. Well, Matt, who's going to be the judge over who? I don't know. I never had no NDE or whatever. I don't know what happens exactly at death. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Ultimately, I believe, okay? I don't assign myself to any religion or anything like that. I believe there's an aspect of us that's not here. All right? Maybe we're our own judge. One of the things that a lot of these channels and Tony agrees with, who gives me advice in different areas because of his experiences. One of the areas where these guys all agree, and it's great advice, is if somebody does come, and I've never floated above my body. I don't know. I just know. I can kind of tell when somebody's a smart person and they know what they're talking about. I can kind of read that matrix code. I can see through a lot of bullcrap because of, what I've been researching over now. It's 10, 11 years or so. They will say, anybody comes up to you after death and tries to put a life review on you or convince you to do something, or put a karma trip on you, or however that works. Where these people agree, they'll be like, who the fuck are you, dude? Who are you to take a position of power over me, to judge me? Who the F are they? Most of the smart people in this area agree. You say, who the F are you, dude? Looks like the archonic being in Voyager and Janeway. Come into my light, come into. But I'm starting to hear so much in the truth community not to go into the light, then I'm becoming skeptical of that. You have to make your own decisions, guys. Like we've heard so many times in the truth community, now we don't go into the light. Well, I have to be smart enough to assume, is that, a reverse psychology psyop? Because we've heard it so many times in the truth community that, we're not going to go in the light. We've learned our lessons. Well, maybe that's all by design, and you're supposed to go into the light. It doesn't, you're not, I wrote in the book, you don't have to have all the exact combination lock, exactly which way to turn, 2 to the right, 1 back. And I don't think we have to have all this figured out. We're part of an eternal being. Whatever happens at death, is there going to be like a time limit? Is there going to be like a big hourglass? You have these 2 doors, and here's the hourglass. And if you don't pick one of the 2 doors, then you go into the abyss. Your soul goes to nothing. Oh no, the hourglass is running, or tick tock, tick tock. I need to choose. Should I choose the light or not? There's not going to be a time limit. Why do you even need food? It's like, if you're not sure what to do, it's like, well, I'm going to spend 4,000 years trying to figuring it out. I'm not going to make the wrong decision. I'm not going to go back into a body. I'm not going to. If anybody tries to, there's a time limit. You need to pick. Say, who the F are you? Who are you to put a time limit on me? Who the F are you? So it's not, you don't have to figure it out. Like, you have 30 seconds to figure it out, or you go back into a body. Just know you've done everything you need to do in life to navigate whatever might come. And if you're not sure, so, well, I'm going to sit down here for about 40,000 years and figure it out. I'm not going to do this or that. So it doesn't, I think this life is not for nothing. Okay. You can get yourself into a certain position in this life. This life is brutal trading ground. It's the opposite of for nothing. It's a brutal training ground, which we can learn a lot. But what we learn here, what's the point of this life then? What we learn here will carry over into death. So there are a lot of channels that talk about tricks and all this stuff. And okay, but just know that, can you get yourself in a powerful position where there's no trick in the world that could work on you, and nobody can judge you or put a time limit on you. So this is my belief, guys. I don't want to turn this into a what happens after death video, because it's about the work we need to do here. So let's just move on. Okay, one of the really important points to note is the reality itself. And that's how it is the reality itself, and the trick that it plays on the outer edges of the screen. There's nothing that can be pointed at. Anyone or anything you can point at is a minion that knowingly or unknowingly, mostly unknowingly, serves the agenda of the reality itself. There's no other way to explain it. It works together as like an organ. Cells work inside an organ to accomplish something. I doubt each individual cell understands what the kidney's doing, or what the heart's doing in total, or what the liver's doing, or whatever the organ system is. That's what the minion is. They might understand their cell and the close proximity to their cell, but they don't understand the whole. A Rush Limbaugh, a cell, a minion of the screen, which is works on behalf of the reality itself, to one sentence, to keep somebody down here, to keep somebody from understanding the true nature of their power, the true nature of who they really are, the true nature of their eternal self. So Ellen DeGenerate, a cell, but some have better understanding than others. But we used to think even people like Melvin P. and people like that, and when they sit down at the back room, they have a full understanding. No, not in my opinion, they understand very little outside their little cell. And if it's people you see on TV like Melvin P. and his presentations, flapping his hands around, then they don't understand squat. You Pappas in Utah, you produce squat. They don't understand any. That's my opinion. Do I know? No, but that's every week that goes by, then they seem more and more just like individual cells that have very little understanding of the whole. These minion a-hole creeps. So there's a lot of ways, guys, that can keep you low here, power low, so you don't get above the breakaway threshold. It's not just, did you jump into the bog and research this bullcrap conspiracy topic? The energy, the giveaway of energy and attention and loosh. Wendy has sent me a bunch of emails about asteroids coming close, and it's an endless presentation of, if you were to research this, I don't know how many asteroid articles there have been in science.com or all this stuff about, here's asteroid N5631, and it's going to come within 20,000 miles of the Earth, and all this, there's all this stuff, and I don't, this is a reality generation machine that's unnatural, that produces an endless amount of bullcrap of things to get worried about and stressed about. And somehow the reality knows that a certain group of people will, that one got close. When they do that, they're releasing some sort of energy out into the ether that something in some way is vampirically sucking on. Every time you get stressed, worry, anxiety, jealous, covet, the 7 deadly sins, all of it, if there's not something, etherically feeding on it, like a vampirically feeding on it, then it's kind of like that maybe you release it and you're trying to get to the break hold threshold, your power, you just drop down a bit. You stressed all day about this or that, and then you were going up and up, but now you drop down a bit. Maybe it's like that. Maybe you have to get to the point where it's just you know but keep quoting what I like the Leonardo DiCaprio Romeo and Juliet. I really like that interpretation of what they the lines from Shakespeare they say are correct, but they jump around. They'll just say the first two sentences of the soliloquy or whatever, and they'll skip the rest. But what they say is actually in the play itself. Mercutio, by my heel, I care not. Here comes Tybalt. Why is he called Prince of Cats? That doesn't make no sense to me. Prince of Cats. Little John Leguizamo, Prince of Cats. That don't make no sense. But I sound like Melvin and Bezzo. So by my heel, I care not. Getting to a point where you're always going to have a little stress and worry because we have limitations in this body and avatar. But then you just start chugging up and up and up and up, and once you get through the breakaway, swing out sister. Swing out, sister. Break out. Do 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 do. Do I believe that's like what Vanessa VA calls the what's it called, the retrocausality language, and break out actually has a spiritual meaning? Yes, I do. I believe there's a meaning like that wasn't even intended by the original artist in 1,000 songs. We thought it was 100 songs. They just come over and over and over again to me now. Once I've tuned more onto this frequency where I can hear the message. I put on Chicago's greatest hits the other day. Does anybody really know what time it is? Does anybody really care about? The first Chicago's greatest hits is phenomenal. The second greatest hits is horrible. It's just like Peter Cetera ballads where you want to rip your hair out and run out of your high school dances, leave your date behind. Is so bad. It's horrible, the second one. The first one, though, it's Saturday in the think it was the 4th of July. All that stuff is really cool to me. But then I thought I was listening to it. Of course, I've heard those songs for years, but now I have a new perception. And I was just after 3 or 4 songs, I'm like, this is about time itself. And not just because of does anybody really know what time it is? That's the second song. But I heard other things. The first sentence in the third song is as time goes on, and I'm like, this is about time. And I said, I guarantee that there's like a time theme in almost every song here. And I think, let's just say there were 10 songs in the greatest hits. I think there was a major time theme in 8 or so of the songs, and the other 2 were like retrocausality spiritual messages. It was incredible. But what amazed me most was, like, just after listening to a few songs, I just got a sense. I went, this whole thing is going to be about time. And it was. And it's not like stop patting yourself on the back. We all are tuning to these perceptions. It's not me. I'm not some, we all have these abilities. It just, once we cut through all the crap and tune to it, I might do that in the free voice, just present how the whole thing's about time. But we can listen to these albums now, and not only can we get the spiritual retrocausality message that's embedded in it, the way I used to say that, each conspiracy that presents itself like somehow as a triple conspiracy, that people take different things away depending on what level they're at, then you can take it's duality, right? It's the good has to come with the bad. There's good, positive spiritual messages in a lot of these songs. And even was it Ben at Vat City I don't know, it was 6 months ago, he was breaking down some Black Sabbath song, and he's saying, look at this song by Ozzy and Black Sabbath. He and Ben knows the Bible as well as anybody. This is like this could be a Christian song. It's all how you interpret it, and per the words that were presented in a certain song, it could be. So I think sometimes, this message, an embedded message, rides along, and it's in there. And Matt, the artist, these dummy 20-somethings that just were on doing drugs and alcohol and just wanted to get girls, they put this incredible spiritual message into their music. No. Who knows how it got in there? Who knows how it got in there? But see, that's part of the breakaway threshold. If you could spend 20 years jumping off into the bog, and how does that positive message, and what does the band live really know? And why is there esoteric messages right from their album cover, throwing copper to secret samadhi and all the what are they? And I'm going to research them and just jump off into the bog. And the reality says, yeah, come right down. Come on down. That's a truth drop. That you're the next contestant and the price is right. Come on down into the bog, you know? But what you do to keep climbing, see this guy here, he's tempted. He wants to jump into the bog. What do these bands really know in these messages, these spiritual messages that they're delivering? All you need to do is say the message is see that the message is there. Well, how did it get there? Who cares? Who put it there? Who cares? What hit the side of the Pentagon? Nothing, or who cares? This guy down here, the smart guy, sees that the message is there, and then he just keeps climbing. Well, doesn't he need to explain it? No, it can't be explained. Is it Bagger Vance that says, let me get back to something that looks half decent? Not half decent. This is incredibly well done, compared to my crap. Bagger Vance, it's incredible truth drop. I covered it years ago, and then Howdy McCoskey came out and be like, yeah, not just that, it's the Bhagavad Gita, which I had no idea. I covered him like, this is just a truth drop as to the meaning of life itself. And he's like, yeah, but it's also that's why he's called Captain Juna, Arjuna, which I had, I have no knowledge of this type of esoteric or occult research. I can barely read. So that's not my area of expertise. I observe reality. I can read matrix code. I don't dive into that type of knowledge, what some ancient tome could present. But then, Howdy just confirmed it. But in the movie, golf is a game that can only be played, not won. It's a lot. Just insert light everywhere in basically everywhere in Bagger Vance. Just insert life instead of golf. It's pretty much that simple. Life is a game that can be played and not won. And I've presented a few times, it can't be figured out. Some people get upset with me, and I think that's a gigantic mistake, because if there's a few things I'm pretty sure about, it can't be figured out. See, it beckons you from the rocks over here. Why did the damn arrow get all big when I moved it so quick? I like that. Wish it could stay big like that. It'd help me out. It beckons you from the rocks over here. The siren song. It can be figured out. Mud flood, Tartaria. What exactly? See, that must have been the Genghis Khan presentation. And see, Khan is right in the name. And Gublek Khan. The Khan is in the name. It's all a Khan. That's Tartaria, dude. Let's come on over here. Come on over here and research. You'll figure it out. It beckons you from the rocks. Showing part of a side boob, so you want to pull your ship over, side boob and a little bit of butt crack. It makes you, the sailors go, let's go over there. Look at that up on the rock. It beckons you. It can't be figured out. Any of these, it's the nature of reality itself. Who built the pyramids? That just because you can go see it and it's heavy, it's no different to me than any of these other conspiracies. It will never be figured out. It's an aspect of reality itself. And yes, if you're putting two and two together, and this puts a lot of the conspiracy channels out of business. If people were to believe this, really, it does. It partially puts me out of business because it's a half a page and maybe even 2 sentences. And if I don't find ways to entertain or to reiterate or to have big thinking discussions, people will leave me. But I'm not gonna. I think this is where we need to be. It's all the bog, Matt. What's the bog? Everything that the reality and society throws at us. Everything. Throw a dart about. Well, what really? Let's pull in. What's this? What's this? Okay. This is what really happened here. This is the definition of the bog itself. Well, even when I go down and say nothing really happened, that's the bog. Just a constant presentation of nothing really happened from the reality's perspective. It's like, well, this guy is closer. He thinks nothing really happened, but that's still the bog. This guy would say, I don't care what happened. I see it's just the reality wants me to jump in this thick mud, and I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to keep climbing. And per keep climbing, I'm going to get over a threshold, for lack of a bad graphical presentation, where I'm basically a winner. And who decides? Probably you, or an aspect of yourself. And then you've done what you needed to do here. And maybe that's different for everybody. But it's pretty simple, guys. It really is. But you just presented it simple because you're too dumb to figure it out. Think whatever you want. Think whatever you want. Do a Jerry Maguire. What does your heart tell you? Is it going to be so complicated? It's a combination lock where you just have to go 3 turns this way. Remember, you open your locker in high school, turn back, turn, boom, open. It's going to be 40,000 turns to the right and then 4,000 turns. And then there's other levers up and down. You got to put them in the combination lock to unlock. What you need to do in life is so complicated. We know deep into our inner knowing it's simple. It's simple. That's why the reality presents complexity. Remember, do the opposite thing? It's so simple. If it wants you to think it's complicated, and even if I can figure out what I'm supposed to do in this life, Matt, oh my God, at death, go into the light, not into the light, archonic beings and all this, it's so complicated. If it's so beautiful how the reality works, because it's just going to be a run up the middle. It's not capable of anything else. If it presents complexity, then it's simple. It's that simple. It really is. No, I don't. I'm leaving this channel. This guy's he's just too dumb to figure it out. I'm gonna go over here with these truth channels, and they're just gonna do their research, and eventually these smart guys over here are gonna figure it out. Okay, believe whatever you want. I truly believe. I'm sure I'm off on how a certain graph works, and it's not all correct, of course. But I want smart people to say, Matt, I like this graph, but you're way off over here. I'm waiting for people to do that. And so far, nobody's done it. I'm no know-it-all. I just do a Sherlock Holmes and put the pieces together. I don't believe this life is for nothing. What does Neil of the Grass-Fed present? And Brian the Cock, and who are the other? Michio Pikachu, and who are all these other presenters? What do they present? So you just, they're presenting that, so thanks for the presentation, guys. Then I know it's just the opposite, that nothing you present about the cosmos and space is as it is. The origins of life is not as you say. Thank you for all these presentations, because I can use them like Sherlock Holmes uses things to eliminate the impossible. I can at least say, well, it's not that, and then go off and do my own research. So, well, Matt, maybe now that they know you're going to look at it like this, they're going to do a reverse psychology on you, and they'll present the truth. And then, then we get into the issue around when, there are hybrids or variations of this. When, Elon Musk talks about the chances of us living in base reality. It's some sort of simulation. And the chances of us living in base reality are 1 in billions. And the Nick Bostrom, whenever this guy came out of the blue, and he somehow ties to MIT or Harvard. Nick Bostrom says we live in a simulation or whatever. The purpose of so Matt, you say we live in some sort of a simulation. You're saying the same as Neil of the Grass-Fed. So you're all both wrong. No, then you can see what they're trying to do there. There's different ways this reality system can be a simulation of some kind. It was designed by something you would call God, or something eternal, or something that's like 40 trillion billion steps above Neil of the Grass-Fed. So that a more natural simulation of some kind that's meant so a soul or spirit can do what it needs to do for itself. What about yourself? It's or they want to hijack that good message, which I think Elon Musk or Neil of the Grass-Fed, they want to hijack it. They will say, yes, simulation, but then they want to pull you, what do they want you imagining the simulation to be? Something that comes from a supercomputer, something like the Matrix, a low-level technology, a dark technology. And they want you to put your energy and attention and imagination into that. It's a simulation, so it's like that. And then eventually, concepts like jumping into Ray Kurzweil's computer with your consciousness gets more palatable. So we live in a simulation anyway. They're experts. They are expert at hijacking messages that are somewhat correct. They do hijack it, and it's like turning the wheel at the last second and taking the car into the ditch. They're pretty good at that too sometimes. Back to Bagger Vance, because I'm not sure that came out right, where it says golf. Say you're playing by yourself. I'm not talking about a tournament with Tiger Woods. People play with one other person, or they play by themselves. They're not some tournament going on all the time, and they go play golf. Golf is a game that can be played, not won. So I don't want anybody to interpret that the wrong way. If you just insert life, like I said for Bagger Vance, every time it says golf, life is a game that needs to be played, not won. One meaning in I'm going to research this topic and figure it out, or I'm going to do everything society says I need to do, so I'll be a winner. It's to be played to a degree, not looking to win or looking to metrics or looking that certain benchmarks have been achieved. So the one area I don't like that is it is considered winning by many if you can get yourself to a point that's above what I call here the breakaway threshold. Okay, but there's nothing that's going to pop out of the ether and announce you've won. Or in Ready Player One, Anorak, which is the opposite, you spell it backwards of what's going on now. Anorak, the wizard's going to show up and give you a golden key. Oh, you've won life. Life is a game that can be just played, not won, but played to a sense where you've done certain things for yourself, where you just have full confidence that there's no reason to do this again or come back here. I'm not giving any more attention, energy to it. I'm not jumping into the bog anymore. So I don't like the not one aspect, because to me, yeah, if you get above the breakaway threshold, you're a winner, but you know what I mean. So the summary of all of this is every single thing that the truth community has researched, and I spent 7 or 8 years chasing these things myself, until I started, in my opinion, to get a clue on this and say, wait a second. This reality system, Goldilocks, it's playing right down the middle again? No normal world can do that. Oh, there's another major news event that's just riddled with conspiracy? No real world can do that. There's another event where I see it one way and my best friend down the cul-de-sac sees it a completely different way. This happens no real world could do that. So it's all fake. There's not much very real about this world. And you say, well, wait a second. Instead of diving in the bog, I'm going to understand the nature of it. If I look at it as a whole, as a system, what is it trying to do to me? What is it? And then therefore, what do I need to do for myself? So you can plug anything, in my opinion, everything we've ever researched into these 3 charts. Moon stuff, Apollo, all how many channels exist or have existed just on the moon, and all. Reality loves it. Oh, channel's going to gob up thousands and thousands of subscribers just about how fake the moon stuff is. They love it. Reality loves it. Reality's like, yay! Reality. See, people in the truth community, a lot of first grade truthers would be like, they don't want you talking about that. They don't want us exposing that. They don't want us investigating that. Yeah, it does. Sure, it does. Because somehow it knows that people that are tuned to the reality frequency on the ship of fools and the river of insanity, they won't believe you anyway. So it doesn't matter. So let's just do the moon. Here we go. Heart center reality. All this interesting stuff is coming from the outer edges of the screen regarding Apollo and Mercury and Gemini. And look here are these videos. There's somebody hammering on the moon, and you can hear the hammer. That's impossible in a vacuum. Oh, we caught him. And look over here, the screen's presenting guys and girls on wires on the ISS, flying by on wires. Oh, we caught him. This deserves a lot of research. And look at this. On the ISS, there's somebody reaching out for something that's really not there, and then they're putting what's not there in a bag. We caught him. That's obviously fake cake in a lake. And boy, we really got him in see that. No, the breadcrumbs were sprinkled in on purpose by the outer edges of the screen. So it would get your attention. You do a bunch of research showing how it didn't happen. People still doing the same moon research showing it didn't happen, trying to present that to their friends and everything. They're taking the bait. It's 100% taking the bait. It's 100% an inflated tire. It's 100% a Bobby moment. So we're still on the moon. So over here, maybe somebody started to climb the rope up to ring the bell. Look at this giant bog that just presented itself off to the right. And this guy's, oh boy, I'm going to all the stuff about the moon. And I'm just going to jump head first into the bog and spend about 25 years in the bog here, just trying to prove for no reason that nobody went to the moon. Hey, the reality's like, yay, we got somebody else in the bog. And why are you so happy, reality? Because the person's not, all they need to do is climb out of the bog, get back on the damn rope and climb up. And this rope should be called WOI, BOUT, yourself. It should be called WOI. That's all this rope should be called, WOI, BOUT, yourself. But maybe somebody, like some people here, and then Matt, like 8 years into this journey, be like, this bog is artificially created in this reality system over and over in a way that there's no way that this could do this. A normal world could do this. No way regular people could pull this off. So I'm getting out. But your pants are all caked off, mud and stuff, dirt. All right, just take them off, put a fresh pair of clothes on, and get some new gloves and start climbing the rope again. But Matt, look over here. Oh, look at this Travis Scott stuff. People email me, don't you want to get involved in this? No, thank you. I just keep climbing the rope. I don't want to get involved in that. But Matt, doesn't it matter if these people in this case, I think they were really injured and killed. Well, I'm sorry for that, but no, I'm not interested. I'm not interested. So that's this. And then if I get involved, anybody that jumps off the rope to the right into the bog, then what do you think happens to their power over time as their chart should be going up and up and up? Oh, it either levels out or it goes down. See, this line says mainstream. If you follow the mainstream, it's a mainstream down to powerlessness, taking you back down to the power you basically had at birth. This line down to the nothingness is the mainstream. And you've got, the day of your death, some archonic being pops up and the person doesn't say, who the F are you and what power do you have over me? We're like, the test is on Fox News. Oh, the test is on Fox News. I watched it my entire life. I'll tell you anything you want to know about the Hannity show. Yeah, here's and then it'll fake it. You got a question wrong on your Greta Van Susteren test. So you got to go back into another body. But whatever. So all of that to get your line going up above breakaway threshold. Let's just do this for a while. Jumping off into the bog to investigate the shape of the Earth. Matt, but you don't understand. There's a soul contract. If you get that right, if you pick the right shape, then you are springboarded above the breakaway threshold. You a life winner. You can get to go anywhere you want in the afterlife if you get the shape right. I didn't know that. I didn't know that was part. Does that seem like it's part of the life test? The worry about yourself? I don't think so. And then here you're stressed out and anxiety, and then for years you chase this and that and the issues that the reality system bombards your lower chakras with everything to chase there. No, that's probably not doing wonders for you getting your chart going above the breakaway threshold. And every time you get stressed out and worry and road rage on somebody, you cut me off, you cut me off. That probably up. Not Nilk 1. Ben does this. Not Nilk 1. Matt 0 or Ben 0, I lost that one because I caught, at least, but you caught yourself saying, I just was giving it what it wants. So I'm not going to do that anymore. Me behind that giant truck that every time I wanted to go left, it had to turn left every time. And I'm like getting upset, starting to honk my horn. I'm like, wait a second. This is what it wants. I'm not going to do this. I don't have to be there exactly at this time. My life doesn't depend on it. It was unnatural. The amount of twists and turns. Every time I wanted to go left, we weren't on a main route. It was like back roads. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And I'm starting to get more upset and more upset. The reality does this stuff. What does that mean, the reality? Yeah, the reality itself. I don't like personifying it in any way or giving it anybody imagining like that. It probably feeds from that, but I need to kind of say that from time to time, and I always apologize when I say it because people have to understand how it works. And ultimately, maybe it is one step back to get many steps forward. But if you understand it, then okay, we're personifying it, which feeding a little energy probably it doesn't deserve. We shouldn't give it. But then you can understand, then much better understand over the course of your life how to cut it off, how to starve it or sour its milk, if you will. Oh boy, what else is on this chart we need to cover here? Clues. Okay, this is an issue that I'm going to dive into at another time. And there are some people that make presentations, and these are good people. Okay, these are people that are completely on our team. I would want to have a beer with. I want to support. I'm friendly with. That that the message can kind of come out that life is unfair. How do you climb the rope, Matt? Because you come in here mind wiped. You come in, Tommy, the deaf, dumb, and blind kid. You don't know anything about anything. It's not fair. How are you supposed to know? But then how are we doing it now? If you just have no chance, how are we doing it now? Well, you're assuming you got all figured out, you arrogant ass. No, I don't. But the old guard here, smarter than me, they would be like, yeah, this is kind of basically correct. This stuff. If not, beat me down. Tell me where I'm going wrong here. But I've heard enough smart people come to me. They're like, well, this is probably how it works. Generally, I'm open to having somebody saying, Matt, this part of your presentation is completely wrong. I'm open to that, so please, but that hasn't happened yet. So if it hasn't happened yet, and the smart people here are generally agreeing with this, then I'm going to continue with this because it still resonates with my inner knowing. But if it's so unfair and we have no way to win and it's just Tommy, and how are we doing what we're doing? We can feel we're doing it, we're breaking away from it. But here I wrote clues. And it looks like it says elves. Isn't that interesting? It says CLUES. It looks like elves, clues. I know nothing about elves. That's just a coincidence. But clues can get us to go above. This is to these people, I'd say, no, it gives tons of hints. The reality itself has to give you tons of hints and shows you the right door. Once you it shows you 3 doors. Oh, what door do I walk down? But once you tune yourself to the right frequency, there's like a nice hue or glow on a door. And the reality has to show that to those that have tuned themselves to the right frequency. So the clues, Vanessa VA's retrocausality language, the incredible positive spiritual message that we can find in like thousands of songs now, all the truth that comes out of movies, and it's first grade to assume that in every case, somebody that works for Steven Spielberg, who's associated with the Crowley's OTO and all these secret societies, made phone calls, and you have to put this in here. Only if it does work that way, it's still positive, because if it does work that way and they have to phone the director to make sure this positive truth is put in for those that can see it, if it works that way, it's still very positive, because that means the creeps are under some sort of contract. Contractually, the creeps, they don't want to look out for you. It's positive because it means the creeps contractually must do this for those with the eyes to see it. Either way, it's positive. But don't think. But if they're under some sort of contractual cosmic contract that predates this whole reality system itself, that's still not just people running around with basic predictive programming. That's first grade. That it's all inserted for the first grade reasons that I don't know. I mean, I don't even know if the truth community that's at the first grade level really explains when they put the 7-Eleven, the 2001 A Space Odyssey. No, I can't even say my own hobo codes correctly. 2001 A 7-Eleven Odyssey, when they had all of those references in Back to the Future. Well, okay, well, like, they'll say that's predictive programming in the first grade truth channels. That predictive programming. That's all I could spout too. That's all I understood 5 or 6 years ago. Predictive program. But what does that mean? Well, okay, well, why'd they put it in there? And still some of the first grade truth, it's like, well, it's just mockery, or what? That doesn't make any sense. Why'd they put, what's all the predictive programming for? They don't even go there. So we're not going to go there either in this video. It's all positive. It's all, whether they have to do it contractually, or it's channeled in somehow, or, you know, the point is, I'm sorry to stray so much. The reality itself gives those that have tuned themselves to the right frequency, the frequency of going up above the breakaway threshold and separating and cutting themselves off and cutting ties and attachments to this sick reality system. It gives all the clues in the world on how to win here. I'm going to do a video sometime, and that same mocking archonic being shows up at death, and somebody complaining that it was too hard to win. And I'm going to do like what would be said. Like I think I actually did part of that in the first conversation after a failed life. But the list could go on and on and on. That we showed you this. We embedded spiritual messages in songs. We showed you spiritual truth in movies. We did in nursery rhymes. We showed you in a million different places what you need to do for yourself. And it wasn't easy. That's why everybody down your cul-de-sac thinks you're crazy, and nobody would even know what we're even talking about here. But the clues are there. They're there. So we're not, we come in Tommy, deaf, dumb, and blind, but once you tune yourself to the right frequency, you don't even have to look for them anymore. I put on Chicago's greatest hits, the first one, the 70-something, 70-something, not the Peter Cetera bad 7th grade dance. I put that on, it's like, it just starts talking to me. I put on Sarah McLachlan, it just starts talking to me. And okay, maybe there's some creepy blokes in certain fields, but there's some I don't want to say the name of I'll cover this artist some other time. There's some lower level artists low level, that they don't even make the radio. And I put the CD on, I'm like, that's talking to me spiritually. So the clues are all over the place. Just looking at some of the notes I wrote on this chart, for whatever reason, a month and a half ago, I remember this, I wrote the B-side to one of the Red Hot Chili Peppers songs. Was it Give It Away? Yeah, give it away now. You know, how we can see 3 messages in every single song. Give it away, give your power away now. Give it away. Come on, everybody, give it away. Give your power away now. Give it away. That's what it's about to me. Does Anthony Kiedis know that? Probably not. But the B-side, which I never know, they would have to even release they released a 45 in the 90s. Did they still release 45s, a B-side? I know that's just something that Smokey Robinson needed to do, but they still do that. So maybe they did need to do it, Matt, because the B-side has to show you what it's really about. It's called Soul to Squeeze. Now, the way, guys, the way this came about, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. We all get to this. Yeah, I hear you. Like, Matt, I can do this too. We all can do it once we get to a certain frequency. I hear you. The guy rising up. He has so many rubber duckies. He rose up and the rubber duckies just got flung out of the tub. I hear you. But I was listening to it because I'm going through all my CDs again. I'm like, I listened to Give It Away now like thousands of times, and I never saw any message in it. Then I put it in 2 weeks ago. I'm like, oh, that must be about giving away your life stuff here, or keeping yourself under the breakaway threshold, or giving away your energy, attention to the wrong things, or jumping into the bog, or giving soul tokens away, or whatever it may be. And then it immediately clicked like, oh, it's called Blood, Sugar, Sex, Magic, or Blood, whatever it's called. Like, that the creepy title of the Chili Peppers album. And then, as usual, you sit down to do research on it, and I'm like, there'll be more here. And you can always know there'll be more, or the conspiracy will just keep coming. And then you see B-side, Soul to Squeeze. I'm like, never. Nobody's ever heard of that song. That probably song exists to support the message. Like, Soul to Squeeze. Like, really? Yeah. Is anybody surprised it's there? Nope. So that's that one. Duke and Duke, $1 bet. How many different interpretations can we take out of that? Where you have somebody on top of, they believe they're on top of this material world. And who was his Coleman. His name, the butler's name was Coleman. Coleman, bring me my bathrobe. Coleman, Dan Aykroyd. And then per a Duke and Duke $1 bet, like Duke and Duke probably represent the screen itself, the Satan mimicked reality. You can take this guy on the street who's down to nothing. Billy Ray Valentine? Was that his name? You could take him. I have legs. I can see. I have legs. You can put him to the top and take the guy that was on the top and just, I think, how many interpretations can there be of that? I haven't even thought about it. I'm just doing it on the fly. Like, the reality system can itself decides who's going to be on top and who's going to be on the bottom, depending on who plays ball. And it can be beaten. It can be, and it's all over nothing. A $1 bet. The usual $1, and it can be beaten if they do something different. I know they went to Wall Street, and that going to Wall Street isn't exactly the ticket out of this life system. I hear you, but they say, oh, Aaron Russo did that, and he was on our side. Any of these stories, I don't buy it at all. I think the entire reality system is a deception. For anything that makes into major league into the mainstream is ultimately a deception. Oh, Aaron Russo, Matt, you don't know, he came out with these documentaries against the Fed and all this stuff, and against glyphosate and all this. I'm sorry. I don't. We'll talk about this some other time. But when you get to the level of Aaron Russo making movies like Trading Places, or Van Morrison has a Truther album, but he's knighted by the Queen, then whatever they're doing or presenting that seems like it's a just cause on our side, it's not. Okay, they're still serving the system. No, I believe wholeheartedly, once you get under the dragon's wing that deep, you do not come out. So what seems to be a presentation in our favor, like all the great documentaries Aaron Russo made, maybe they had to make them because contractually the creeps have to help us. I was on those Aaron Russo documentaries for a while, going down the Fed and what's this and that, but I was able to graduate out of it. So it might be there contractually. It might be there just as another graduate Animal Farm, so people get caught up on reading Jekyll Island books for the rest of their life. It doesn't. You need to move on. Keep climbing the rope. You keep doing research on Jekyll Island and all that. That's a bog. It's all a bog. Every single presentation in the truth community is a bog. So I'm done with this guy. That was my cousin Vinny. She's cute too, isn't she? Marissa Tomei. He-Man. That's just, I happened to just watch that horrible He-Man remake, that Kevin Smith thing. I watched 1 or 2 episodes, and it was horrible. And he just said he's just some no kid, and he says, I have the power, and he becomes something else. And I thought it was appropriate. And then here it says Lennon. It's John Lennon. I just saw a recent interview when I wrote this. Here it says he comes out and says, "Oh, this whole country here is run by psychopaths." And again, guys, we're kind of going back a few steps here. We don't need to do this anymore. But the whole presentation of John Lennon is fraudulent. And if anybody's saying, "Well, Matt, you just said the whole presentation of everything the reality system brings that's of celebrity or of note or that makes a big news story, it's all fraudulent. So why wouldn't Lennon be fraudulent?" Good point. Why am I even going backwards? Of course it's fraudulent. And if you want to extend it out further, like Dakota Hotel, I don't buy it for 1 second. It's all a presentation. But when he says, "Well, Matt, it doesn't make any sense," a first grade truther will say, "Well, he's coming out on our side. He's exposing that the world is run by psychopaths. He's saying exactly what the screen wants him to say. I agree on the face of it. It doesn't seem like that's something they would want said. In some way, it serves them, if nothing other than to get you into the bog." Well, what did Lenin mean by run by psychopaths? Let me spend 25 years in the bog researching that. If nothing else, it puts a lot of people that believe in the pure nature of John Lennon, puts them into the bog for 20 some years when you should be climbing your rope. The rope here, if you agree with this, basically every single conspiracy is not worth looking at. So yes, the first 400 pages of my book is worthless if you can get, or you've already gotten yourself to a certain point. It's not entirely worthless because most of us have to go through the bog to some degree. Okay, I don't think life is a very difficult test, trial, a learning experience, you're getting your ass kicked in a lot of different ways, lost loves, lost jobs, I mean, just it's tough. Okay, it's tough on a lot of people in a lot of different ways, and I don't think there's anybody that just climbs the rope. I mean, you have to get into the bog, and it's not just the bog isn't just conspiracy research. For a lot of in the truth community it is, but it could be a drug addiction, an opioid addiction, an alcohol addiction, a sex addiction. Of how many young men they just run around until they're in their 30s looking for different women. It's just a waste of time. That's a bog. Maybe they'll climb out and go, "What was I doing?" Just get back on the rope. And it's all a bog. It's not just we just talk about because of what we do with this channel and where we came from, our history or my history of research. It's conspiracy bog. But the life here, this life in this construct has 40 million ways to deliver the bog on people. But there's nobody that's just going to climb up and ring the bell without at least getting a little bit dirty, of course. And most people, honestly, the way reality's structured now, most people really don't have a chance to ring the bell unless they got real dirty. And for me, it was the hardcore. The conspiracy research was so hardcore and I looked into so many different impossible things that I got to the point, about maybe 3 years ago started. I got to the point where I said, there's just no way this could be presented and pulled off time after time after time after time after time after time after time the way it is. No possible way. Then once you go, then okay, well, the world isn't real. What is it with all these different presentations that it wants me getting involved in? What does it want from me and why? And, then you learn to eliminate the elements. In this conspiracy, we're going to look at the who, what, when, where, why, and how. And then you very quickly determine all the elements are a waste of time, that it wants you jumping in that bog, except the why, and the why in only one area or respect. Why does it want me to do this? What does it get from me? And then that teaches you a lot about yourself. Oh, I'm pretty darn powerful if it wants me to do this all the time. Or if something's feeding from you energetically, well, that's pretty powerful. Do the creeps go, and if there's like some rock sitting somewhere in the middle of the Dubai arid desert with the spice worms and arachis, the creeps just feed from that? If something's trying to feed from you, that tells you a lot of good things about yourself. The He-Man, I have the power. It was just, and the truth drops are everywhere. I was watching, some of these episodes on Star Trek Deep Space Nine are just bad. It is not anywhere near even what Voyager is. But I like Star Trek, and I'll go over there every once in a while and watch some Deep Space Nine. Some of them are horrible. But this one he was the Cisco's kid, Jake or whatever his name is. He's a writer, and this literally, this archonic being showed up at the space station, and he was writing, and she was like massaging his head as he was writing. It was very interesting the way this actress presented her role. Was incredibly well done. It was really creepy, but she was like a muse, or one of the was it 9 muses? Is it? And he would write things he didn't know he could write. But she was drawing energy. You could see the energy, the light energy coming from his head into her hands, and she was just loving it. She was basking in the energy and feeding upon the energy. And some truth drop in some way. I don't know exactly how it related to the writing, but I guess without thinking about it for a long time on the fly, I would just say, that Jake was a writer, and he's more creative than anyone else on that space station, more imaginative. So the archonic being went right to him, and you could say we are very similar to that. One of the things we have in common, I've talked to my buddy Izzo, one of the things we have in common is, people would say to me, Matt, what do we have in common where we don't fall for the trick? And we'd have these first grade explanations that, we We all don't have smartphones, or we just trying to look for first grade explanations that don't work, because a lot of people do have full smartphones, and a lot of people you, Matt, you said you didn't have a smart TV. Well, I've had a smart TV for 3 years. It didn't change me one bit. And so it's beyond that. It's things like imagination. I have never come across anybody in this community, and I haven't sent like a survey monkey out to everybody, but nobody's said, "No, I'm Matt. I can see everything you can. I can hear messages embedded into songs, and I can see right through Travis Scott events." But I didn't have any imagination as a kid. I didn't play with action figures, and I just was. I'm 25. I just was on my mother handed me PlayStation when I was 4. There's not one person that has ever said that, and I doubt we'll ever. I think that is a huge commonality. Some incredible imagination, which may go along with who we really are, an old soul ready to graduate, or whatever it may be. But the imagination thing is key. And then relating that back to the Deep Space Nine, that she went right after Jake, because he was a writer, and nobody on most of the people in Deep Space Nine. One guy's an engineer, one guy fixes phasers. And nobody's a writer. There's nobody creative so he's the only one. She went right for him, and the truth community, I'm sure, gets more attention, of course, from the screen. Put back the screen than any other group, of course. The distractions are very simple to the people down the cul-de-sac and everybody around us. The distractions to us are very complicated. They come from all directions, and they're meant to fool us into believing the pursuit of them is actually a just pursuit, when, of course, we know it's not. So, anyway, I guess that's about it. What would be interesting is you could take any single thing we've chased and plug it into these 3 simple charts, and it's all going to come out the same every single time. Every single time. So what looks like a trick play is just another screen exercise of them running up the middle. It's the same thing every time, with one sentence to distract a human being from climbing the rope, to distract a human being from understanding its true nature, to distract a human being from understanding itself, to keep a human being. See, Matt, don't repeat that word. We do need a Nuwanda word. We do need another word for that. I keep saying that every time, but I never come up with one. I'm going to come up with one. I really am. So it just wants you to stay here and way below the breakaway threshold, down here. And, this chart does support a lot of the channels that say, at death, they want you to go back into another body, or they want to recycle you back or reincarnate back, or the whole notion of Buddhism puts into a billion people's mind that, oh boy, I have like 40,000 more lifetimes to go. And you put that in your mind, be careful what you wish for. Why is that carried through time? Be careful what you wish for. Been a good Buddhist, but it puts in your head that no matter what you do, that, you probably have thousands more times to do it. And, and just, so that's probably what you bring on yourself. So this chart does support, when you're trying to keep everybody low and not understanding the true nature of themselves. And Tony says, basically you just have to convince your higher self that, we're done with this, that we don't, there is no anything that comes to you after death that holds power over you. Like, who that for you? Like just convince your higher self we're done with this. Like, there's nothing more to be gained here. And according to people like Tony, everything the reality puts on you, like my notion of soul tokens or karma, and everything it can get you to believe in, like karma, just acts as a Jacob Marley chain to keep you here, or to facilitate, for those that do this sort of research, to facilitate you going back into another body. So if you spend your whole life believing that karma controls you, and you're not, you haven't created basically it on yourself, you're not more powerful than it, then it can be potentially used to create a Jacob Marley chain to say, well, you were a big believer in karma your whole life, and on the other aspect, if karma's real, then somebody could still, get themselves to rise above it. So if somebody tries to pull a karma trick on them, say, wait a second, I dealt with all that. I'm not going back, whatever it may be. So we'll talk about that stuff going forward. But, it is, I don't know. I don't want to say anything like that. I don't want to piss anybody off. I was going to say a few things about some emails I get, but everybody's at different, this is that Amish classroom. Everybody's at different levels, and, got to go back and take care of the first and second graders and have them see the basics before we can get everybody up and to graduate together. Thanks for listening, guys.